Here's 10 more tips to help you become a better Helldiver. Well, I always do more than 10 tips, but I break it down into 10 sections so that I don't meander. Your basic training was fast, but these tips and tricks are going to come at you faster. So go ahead, buckle on up, and let's dive right on into the real deal. Of course, that means we got to start with tip number 10. The toxic smoke is one of my favorite stratagems, rivaling that 500 kilogram bomb. I've previously covered how useful it is against the bots, and multiple people made sure to comment how useful it is against the bugs. So I've got a few tricks on how to use it against them. Once a bug breach begins, you'll want to wait and see where those super cracks appear. And if you toss it in the right spot, you'll rack up a kill count. And in a pinch, it can be used as an alternative method to close bug holes. And that's the first tip out of the way, but sometimes the first things you get are the best things that you get. And I'll explain what I mean in tip number 9. The first booster you get in the game is the Hell Pod Space Optimization, and it is hands down the best booster. Now when selecting which one of these buffs to use, there's a lot to take into account. The difficulty of the operation you are on, as well as the type of operation. But you should always optimize the space on your Hell Pod. Even if you're using an energy weapon that doesn't consume ammo, the optimization booster lets you drop with a full pouch of grenades and stims. The Ministry of Truth guarantees us that those stims are not addictive. I'll tell you from firsthand experience, they definitely are. Any Helldiver that has one of those stims circulating through their blood system is a dominating force on the battlefield. And we'll talk about another dominating force on the battlefield in tip number 8. No enemy presence is felt greater on the battlefield than a factory strider. And if they knock out a few Helldivers, their presence can be devastating on morale. Yet, there's no need to fear. You are here. And you know that their armor is practically made out of paper mache. You can take them out with any type of explosives. A few well-placed rockets can take care of them. Even an impact grenade can defeat them if you are out of all other alternatives. Yet there's very little that you can do to eliminate the threat coming in tip number 7. Oh, pick and choose your engagements, please. Most of the time, you are in control of where and when you take on engagements, so you can set up ambushes near hellbombs to make quick work of them. But I'm at the point where I avoid engaging with the enemies near barbed wire at all costs because it has become my mortal enemy. You can be kicking butt, but if you trip over this with a little sliver of health, it'll do you in. But we're gonna better prepare you for engagements in tip number 6. With this tip, you can pick any hill to die on. I mean make a stand on, because one of the most important ways that you can fight the bots is by using the 3 C's: cover, cover, and more cover. And if you lay prone on an elevated surface, that hill is now your cover. In a similar manner, laying prone can turn any small mound or any crater you create into a fortress of cover, which makes the 500 kilogram a defensive stratagem for democracy. Now let's crawl on into tip number 5. I've previously mentioned the importance of prioritizing objectives during missions. And if you missed that tip, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button to do your part in spreading managed democracy across the galaxy. Now let's modify that tip a little bit. Well, I previously stated that I believe that mortars were the highest priority target when fighting the automatons. I've had many people correct me, and without a doubt, they're right. The gunship fabricators need to be taken out as soon as possible. The only exception that there is to this rule is if a stratagem jammer is preventing you from calling in that hellbomb and blowing them up. If you let these fabricators linger for too long, the skies will become littered with these gunships raining hell on earth upon you. But hey, you are a Helldiver. Let's keep the skies clear with tip number 4. It wasn't that long ago that we were beating the bugs back, but then everything changed after the termicide attacks. I still have fond memories of putting up the termicide towers. And who could have foreseen that they were actually mutating those bugs? And while I certainly believe that there was no way that bugs could fly, I've seen shriekers with my own eyes, and I know they exist. However, they are easy to deal with. You can take out their nest at a distance with any ranged explosive. They are heavily armored and can take many rounds, making the recoilless rifle my favorite tool to deal with them. But things are about to change. Meridia is the first super colony that we've been on, and swarms of shriekers seep out of the ground on this planet. Things are changing, and not for the betterment of managed democracy. Let's talk about a positive new change, though, in tip number 3. The new Emancipator Walker is a wonderful thing. I've seen some people on Reddit saying that they think it's trash, but I'm here to tell them to get good. It can be incredibly tempting to go full auto on a Bile Titan's face or at a charger coming at you. But you really should focus on accuracy. Aim for the Bile Titan's bile sacs, and have your teammates finish it off. Same with dealing with a charger. Don't aim for the head. Its armor there will prevent most of the damage from your rounds. Instead, aim for its rear end. One of my favorite ways of using this walker is to call it down before trying to take on a large bug nest. To be honest, I avoid shooting most of the things in the nest other than the holes. And by doing this, you can take out that nest incredibly fast. And by the time you're done, everything will be coming at you in a Congo line, ready for you to chew through. But now I think it's time that we get on into tip number 2, which will be another tip from the comment section. So if you've got a great tip, go ahead and leave it down below right now, because if it wasn't for my community, I'd be running out of tips by now. Coming up with 10 original tips is a challenge. So shout out to Jalon, who gave another great tip last week. Placing down turrets where you want them to be has become a challenge, because if you try to throw them in certain places, that stratagem ball is gonna bounce all over the place and ends up who knows where. But if a friend of yours has the personal shield generator backpack equipped, you can throw that stratagem ball and have it stick to their shield. Now, they don't need to give their life for liberty, because you can unequip backpacks by holding down the X key. Now, I don't know what it is for PlayStation, but wherever that backpack lands is where that turret will be placed. And now let's get into our final tip. Tip number 1. And if any of these tips have been helpful for you, make sure that you fill in that like button so that the algorithm designates me as one of your preferred candidates. This tip will help you deal with the most annoying enemy in the game. I've seen multiple polls that rank hunters higher than stalkers. And why is this? Mostly because you can scare a stalker off with a couple good shots to their face. But hunters are relentless. And once they seep their claws into you, they slow you down so that the hordes can come in and rip you to shreds. But Corey left a comment last week that can help you prevent this. If you melee them at the right time, you can prevent them from seeping those serrated claws into you. This can be critical to cancel out those jump attacks. Finally, here's some content of mine that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Like, subscribe, all the things I'm supposed to say, but mostly I just hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.